Hello, and I'd like to share about the toolkit on disability for Africa. There is a series of cultures and beliefs in disabilities that are not just on the African continent but around the world, and they relate around the concept of stigmas and discrimination. What is a stigma or a discrimination? Stigmas are beliefs that we have against people who may be different, and it shows up in different ways in different cultures. So this document goes over the ways that they impact people with disabilities, specifically in Africa, but these ideas also apply to people around the world. And the main overview is that we need to be able to give a framework to see the stereotypes that we have in our cultures about people with disabilities. Some stereotypes could be we exclude them because we think they're not capable, or other beliefs that may be related to our specific cultures. And it's our job to transform these negative perceptions, which are often harmful practices towards people with disabilities. And this article asks a great question. What is being done in your country to protect persons with disabilities from negative stereotypes and false beliefs or harmful practices? This is something that's around the world where we have certain beliefs around certain people who are different. And these beliefs are harmful, and they can be social constructions, and they often are because of a lack of understanding, and then prejudice and fears of people who are different are also shown through laws and policies. Another question is, are you aware of specific negative or harmful beliefs that are the cause of disabilities, which may be reinforced by specific laws or policies in your country? In regards to the United States, we created a policy called the Disabilities Act, the IDEA, and it's specifically to go against what had been happening in the past where people were being excluded. Over here, they give an example of people in different countries. There's certain beliefs that someone who's born with a disability in some countries they may think was because of ancestral violence or misfortune or witches or other curse from God. And every culture will have their way of understanding why there is a disability that someone has. But these negative beliefs that are often more against people who have physical impairments, ones that we can physically see. They could be albino, color of skin, or other physical disabilities such as maybe we speak to them, they can hear us, they're deaf. These are things that are easier to see. But there's also other disabilities that we can't see as well. But what is interesting here is people who are more economically disadvantaged will face more stigma than people who may have a disability but who are wealthier. And as I said before, stigma are negative attitudes, and they lead to practices of discrimination, which means that we may exclude certain people from our family, or certain communities may tell a whole family to move away from the community. And these perceptions definitely impact the education of people with disabilities. In some countries, there's also more physical and sexual violence and abuses against people who are disabled. This article also goes on to talk about good practices, such as here in Swaziland, where they've actually been doing awareness campaigns to developing community-based sensitization and education campaigns, where students actually work with DPOs or local NGOs. DPOs, I believe, are disability organizations that work on educating. And what the students were doing was learning about disability, creating songs and plays and raising awareness in their community. And this kind of hands-on work leads to students learning through this policy that was created at the level of the government. And we also need to do more documentation and reporting of people with disabilities to see what ways are they being impacted, and also how is their advocacy, because often the abuses against people with disabilities are unseen or ignored. This is why law and policy reform is really important. So this is the overview about the article. I definitely think you should read it, and a key thing here is to also see about how we use stereotyping at the level of policy. So we need to be aware of the policies that we have in each of our governments or in each of our contexts that may be spoken policy or maybe unspoken policy that we often see that is reflecting in stigmatization, harmful beliefs against people with disabilities. So my main question to you is, how are people with disabilities treated in your country? What kinds of policies exist in your country or don't exist in your country to support people with disabilities? And this is at the level of children as well as adults, so in terms of education as well as in terms of employment opportunities. And the last question could be, what role do you see yourself in being an advocate? Someone who can stand up for the rights of people with disabilities that need to be defended. Thank you.